So if Jeshua was just a man, why did I have such a visceral reaction to him when I saw him in my past life regression? Hey guys, John here. I am back in my studio shooting a couple of videos for the next couple of days. One question I found on my list, which I really wanted to answer because I thought it was a really pertinent question for several reasons. You often say that Jeshua was just a man. However, in one of your videos, you remarked that when you first saw him, you were in awe of him. You seemed to know he was someone special. You also mentioned that when he touched you on your chest, you felt something amazing, and you felt so connected to him. You were compelled to follow him and be with him. Not exactly your words, but paraphrasing. If you thought he was just a man, why did you feel him to be so special in those moments? It's a great question. I'm going to liken it to a couple things. Number one, I like to refer to him as a spiritual rock star. When I first was standing there on the beach, I saw people running down the beach to him because he was already very well known. He had already sort of created a reputation by the time John met him, and people were freaking out because he was there. Now, before I get to my experience with him, let me tell you another experience as John Davis. When I was a young man, I used to work at a convenience store when I was in high school. And one night in the convenience store, I was there working, and this man walked in, and I lost my breath. Oh, my God. You're Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson, famous comedian. By the way, I'm showing my age when I talk about Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson walked in, and I could barely speak. I was blown away. My exact words to him were not "You're Flip Wilson." My words were, "I know you," and his words were, "Well, that may be." And he shook my hand, and he got gas and he left, and I was just freaking out and all. Right now, fame will do that to people. Fame will get them to be amazed and have that experience of awe and wonder of that nature. Fame will knock somebody down. But Jeshua also had the capacity to love. So love itself has a feeling. You know, you've been in rooms where somebody walks in with a magnanimous charisma, and you go, "Who's that person? Who's that person?" Right? Jeshua was famous, and he had that charisma that was just so loving and caring that you were just like in awe, and you could feel that love because that's what you feel when you feel charisma, is you feel that feeling from them. You get a feeling about it. Jeshua was over the top, big, right? So he's famous. He's got a compassionate love that you just can't deny is there. He walks forward. He touches my chest. And now I'm in the presence of this spiritual rock star. I'm feeling this compassion and love from his charisma coming up. And he walks over, and charisma, as I said in my other video about charisma, it's just fearlessness. It's coming back to being that loving state. And he reaches over and he puts his hand on my chest, and it was it a magical gift of his? It was him just coming over and giving an acknowledgement, and my own belief about this spiritual rock star who I can feel his presence comes over and touches me, and I am embraced by this love. And so I became fearless, and so I had a transcendental experience leaving the body and doing all that. Was it his special power? It was his special power in that he had those things. I don't believe it's impossible for everybody to have those things. I believe that as I've said in every video about him, he had found his divinity. He had found his divinity. He was a man. And his entire message is that I am a man. And you can do what I've done. So it makes perfect sense for him to have that experience with him in that way, because he was showing me the next level of humanity that he had found, that we all have the capability of being. So he was literally showing me the capacity to love without fear. So was he a superhuman? No. He was a human to the fullest potential. And he was showing us that we are humans that can come to that fullest potential. So was he special? He was special in the regards that he knew something that we didn't about ourselves. That experience of going out of body and having all that was because he was showing me that. He was showing me that love and compassion. And when you're in that pure love and compassion, it drives out fear, just like the book of John says. It says, perfect love drives out fear. So he came to me with all my fears and my anxieties of the physical world, and he showed me perfect love, and it drove out my fear, drove out my demons. Right? And so I had an experience of fearlessness. When you're completely fearless, you transcend the physical, because the world is about having those feelings of separation. And what he understood was, you don't have to. And he was showing us that, look what I found. I can do this. You can do this. You have the ability to do this. Ye are gods. It is your faith that heals you. You can move mountains. It'll move. Nothing's impossible for you. That was what he was teaching. That is who he was. And was he special? Well, on a very physical earth plane, yeah, he was very special. Very special man. But he's a man. And he was a man who understood all of our potential. And so when I first saw him and I had that experience, I lost my breath. I was like, oh my God, it's Flip Wilson. Right? He shook my hand and I was like, oh my God, right? Now Flip Wilson had his own fears and anxieties, so I wasn't gonna feel his love and compassion that way, right? He was actually afraid I was gonna call friends and he was gonna get swarmed because he was a big star back then. When Jeshua touched me, there was no fear in the man. So that vibration, where two or more are gathered, there so I am, right? That feeling, that perfect love drives out the fear. When you're embraced by a perfect love, you drive out fear. And what's interesting about that is, the more loving I act into my world, then the more love I get in return. I mean, I talked myself out of being robbed one time just by loving the guy. And so it really does come down to, was Jeshua special? Yes, he was a special man who understood all of our specialness. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.